Mr. Clerk, can you please do roll call?
Mayor Smith,
Here.
Councilman Dezume, Councilman Bieneme,
Here.
Councilwoman Keys,
Here.
Vice Mayor Galvin.
There were board members.
Mayor, we have a quorum to
Board
proceed.
members.
Board members.
As long as the name's correct. So we're ready to proceed, Mayor.
At this time, we'll
Chair.
stand up for Pledge of Allegiance led by our Officer Rivera. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Second item on the agenda is approval of minutes from November 13. We need a motion.
So move.
We need a second.
Second.
I have a motion made by Board Member Bieneme, and that motion was seconded by Board Member Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passed with a 4-0 vote. All right, so Chairman, you want me to go ahead and read agenda item 1?
Okay, so Mr. Clerk, can you please go with agenda item 1?
Absolutely.
No. Go ahead.
Okay.
Mr. Clerk, can you please go with agenda
Item
item
no 1.
no one?
Yes, Mayor. Agenda item number 1, resolution number 2018-016, a resolution of the chair and board members of North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency authorizing the executive director, the city clerk, and the NMCRA attorney to take all necessary action and to execute all documents relating to the operations of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency during the board's recess commencing December 12, 2018 through January 7, 2019, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Thank you. Do you have any?
Mr. Chair and board members, this is your standard resolution that we adopt whenever you all are in recess so that the business of the CRA can continue during that recess.
Yeah. You got to have counsel.
Okay.
I should mention then too that any action taken during this recess period that would require board approval will be subject to ratification by the board at the next meeting.
Now, do we need to open this to the public?
Yes, you always have a public hearing on everything you do.
Okay, this item is open to the public for the public to be heard. So anyone who wishes to be heard on this item, please come forth to the mic. There's one on the left, one on the right. I see no one, hear no one, so public hearing is closed. Do you see what I just did? Because you got to give the people the opportunity to be heard. Okay? This is Councilman Scott Galvin. Good to meet you. Sorry I'm late. Mayor Bonilla.
So, Chairman,
Well, did we have any questions or comments from the dais?
No.
No? Go ahead.
all right, Chairman, do I have a motion to approve agenda item 1?
So move.
I have a motion made by Chairman Smith Joseph to approve agenda item 1. That motion was seconded by Vice Chair Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passed with a 5-0 vote. Agenda item 2, resolution to approve Mobility Hub Master Plan. A resolution of the chair and board members of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency approving the Mobility Hub Master Plan and providing an effective date.
Mr. Chair, this is the,
The big book.
through the chair, this is the item to discuss the nomenclature of the mobility hub, but in layman's terms, this would be the area around the TOD for a potential train train hub at 123rd Street. We have our consultants here from IBI who will present the master plan to the public. So just a presentation for you.
Now, will this item be discussed in our regular council meeting as well?
We can add it to the agenda. However, since this item traversed through the CRA, it has been a legislative item of the CRA.
Okay.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Bankim Kalra, and I represent the IBI Group. With me is
Address.
Kevin Greiner. Address is 1100 Pompano Beach Parkway. And as the city manager had mentioned, we had conducted a study which started in last December on the TOD overlay district and the TOD study area. This was a response to one of the comprehensive plan recommendations which talked about the 125th and 123rd Street location and the area around it would require land development regulations to establish a TOD master plan. So as part of that, this study looked at a larger area than just a quarter mile, which was the overall area that was recommended as part of the TOD district in the comprehensive plan. We looked at the overall transit systems that are placed within regional context, which is the Amtrak, Tri-Rail Coastal Link, Brightline, and how that is going to have an impact on what happens in North Miami downtown in the near future. If looking at the regional competitive advantage, these are the stations that were identified by the Tri-Rail Coastal Link study and the station area market and economic analysis, where you look at the 54th Street, 79th, 96th, and the 151st being the future potential infill station. 125th was identified by them as one of the key catalyst stations that need to be looked at. What's important in this is to look at the fact that the population densities are some of the highest in the areas when you compare it with the rest of the stations along the corridor. The employment densities are also in the top 3. And based on that, we felt that the North Miami 125th Street location is unique in its way, where it has a good mix of employment, residential, as well as ridership potential. Based on that, I'm just going to ask Kevin to just step in. Kevin, do you want to just quickly introduce?
Sure. Kevin Greiner, I'm the economist and development planner for the project. I'm going to try to go through quickly the assessment we did of North Miami's economy and the real specific opportunities that the mobility hub represents. Bottom line in our conclusion is that this is a very, very, very significant opportunity for North Miami. You're in a competitive race to get a station location, but this has real important ramifications across North Miami's economy and housing markets. We did a competitive assessment, and the strengths of North Miami is its location. It's one of the most connected and centrally located locations in Miami-Dade County. It's the center of a major demand market. If you took the population and its spending within a 12-minute drive of North Miami, it would be the 4th largest city in Florida. Very significant buying and population market that North Miami is now the business hub to. There's significant potential along this corridor, not just the acreage, but the types of jobs and housing that can be created. A conservative estimate, just looking at the properties surrounding the quarter mile, even less, around 125th and the rail line, that's over 1.5 million square feet of land that could generate anywhere from 3 to 5 million square feet of new development. It's very significant, and lower price properties. The other things we noted is that what's going on in North Miami is reflecting a lot of what's happening in Miami, what we're calling the rise of the gig economy. Miami-Dade is actually the highest percentage of businesses in the country, of any county in the country, are actually single workers, single owners, working mostly out of their homes. And they're not working. This is not just kind of selling socks on the internet. Increasingly, these are high-tech, very professional and high earning types of small businesses. We happen to be the kind of the world center for micro businesses like that, doing in very sophisticated industries. That's reflected in North Miami's economy as well. Also, a very high rate of entrepreneurial production in Miami-Dade. That's also reflected in North Miami, which actually created more businesses faster than the rest of the county since the recession. One of the major issues in North Miami, however, it has become, and is now becoming even more, a center for professional services. The most concentrated industries and now the leading industries in North Miami: medical services, professional services, including law, accounting. North Miami is now becoming a real locus for professional service, small professional service businesses, and it's creating a number of higher wage jobs each year, slowly, but it's increasing each year. The big problem is there's a mismatch between the jobs that are available in North Miami and its employed residents. 85% of the people who live in North Miami who are employed actually leave North Miami every day. There's a significant percentage of jobs that are not being taken by North Miami residents. In fact, only 15%. So that creates a number of issues. That's lost spending every day, creates a major transportation issue. You've got a large flow of people going out every morning, a large flow coming in at the same time, and we see the results in increased congestion and wait time. Affordable housing in North Miami is also becoming an increasing issue. We've recommended a number of general strategies that the hub fits into. I'm not going to list all of them, but kind of just the high points is that the mobility hub can be an economic opportunity to really target the continuing development of high wage, high professional, high skill, and highly educated types of jobs. Fits into that as well. It can support small business growth, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Most importantly, it fits into a major component of what we're calling work shift strategies. One of the major transportation strategies in the coming decades, it's going to include rail, it's going to include mass transit, but increasingly it's going to be doing types of strategies that take people off the road altogether. And that's very simply finding ways for them to work closer to home. And what you see is the rise in telecommuting. Telecommuting is now a very serious segment of the workforce. 25% of all American workers now spend at least a part of their week working from home. Increasingly, workers negotiate the ability to work from home in place of salary. Large corporations have now stopped building large downtown office buildings and are finding ways to get their workers to either work from home or near home so they don't have to make these long commutes. That's solving a major transportation problem there, plus the ability of rail transit, and you've hit a home run in terms of your long-term transportation demand and solving those issues. Major, major issue that it solves there. The other issue is think of housing. Don't think of it as just a place to live anymore. Think of housing as jobs and new business creation because, like I said, and this goes back to the gig economy, increasingly, now it's 65% of all new businesses are started in a home. That's a significant number. So that housing now is not only a place where you start a business, it's increasingly where you work. If you work, say, at the managerial level, you're now on average in the United States, even higher in Miami-Dade, you're spending about 40% of your work week working from home. Very significant. So housing is now a job strategy. It's a business development strategy because they overlap, and the mobility hub fits into that on an incredible basis. The other strategies that we've recommended is that positioning the mobility hub for this broader economic redevelopment. Remember, it's not just retail, it's not just housing. We're recommending mixed use, but with a focus on this ability to work, live, shop, play all in one place, and the mobility hub gives you that type of location. We've also recommended you've got to settle on a location, and you need to do it soon. As I mentioned up top, you're in a very competitive race for now it's 8 stations. 3 of them have already been chosen, so it's 5 remaining stations that are in play in Miami-Dade County. and it's a very competitive race to get them. And the economic value of getting one in the end is going to be tremendous for the winners. Settling on the location, really for the purpose of controlling property so you can drive the development of this, is crucial right now. That's your first upfront task. We're also recommending that small business development program, this becomes the location and kind of hub for that type of activity for the city. We're also making recommendations. It can continue to drive your arts and cultural development, which has been successful in North Miami. We're recommending to commit as high a percentage as you can of housing units, and you can do this mandatorily. You can do it through incentives. You can do it through public-private partnerships, but commit as many units as possible in the eventual development to affordable units, especially workforce-priced units, especially units that are affordable to young workers, new workers who are having a hard time staying in the region altogether because housing prices are so high, and that we've already started talking with city leaders about revising zoning to make the project happen. So very quickly, that's the economic highs and lows of the project.
Thank you, Kevin. That as a starting point, this was the planning process that we followed. We had 3 community engagement workshops, which was really well attended, as well as we had a lot of online surveys that were conducted. One of the things that we would like to point out that initially when the study was commissioned, there was a 1/4 mile radius, which is the inner circle that you see, which is a 5-minute walk that was asked of us to look at, but we recommended that we start looking at a 1/2 mile radius, which is a 10-minute walk. The City Hall, as well as the MOCA, and where we're here right now, is between the 1/2 mile and 1 mile radius. So most of the destinations are between the 1/2 mile and 1 mile radius. This is just a 3D rendering of how it looks today, the existing conditions. Again, some images from the drone to show you what the 125th, 123rd, and the railroad, FEC railroad situation, location looks at. We're looking at this station as being the one that is going to serve the entire city. This is going to be that one station which is located in close proximity to the downtown as well. If you look at it from the perspective of 2 miles, 3 miles, everything, the 151st is within the 3 miles. This one is centrally located, catering to the entire city of North Miami. From the mobility perspective, it's very important, as Kevin was mentioning, that the mobility is not just about the rail transit. It's about how you get there, how you get out of the station. The train is not going to drop you home or pick you up from the home. Mobility is going to be very important, which includes looking at car sharing. It includes looking at our bus system. It includes looking at our line bike, bicycle sharing, the pedestrian walkability. We went through this whole process of looking at what is it that what Kevin was just mentioning from the economic standpoint is going to attract people. Quality of life. If you look at this 1/2 mile radius, we do not have any parks and open spaces located within this 10-minute walking distance of the 125th, 123rd rail station or the downtown. So it becomes really important for us to start investing in that as well. This is also one of the locations, if you look at this map, which shows the dry and the wet lands. This is on a higher elevation, and it's for the future. 20 years from now, 15 years from now, 10 years from now, Kevin would have his own numbers. This is the ideal location for us to start supporting densities. Whatever happens on the other sides, which is the 151st or the other locations on the north, are prone to flooding as well as other resiliency threats. The community engagement, we're not going to go through the detail, but just we went through a series of polling from online as well as during the workshops. 43% of the residents that had attended the workshops preferred new development along the FEC as entertainment, whereas 16.7% talked about parks and public places. One of the questions we asked, if there was, apart from personal cars, if 125th is going to be congested, and it's going to get congested regardless, what would be the preferred mode of transport? 25% opted for bicycles, and 21% went for car sharing, and then 20% for bus. There were a lot of pain points that were also, we went through this exercise called Pains and Gains in this particular area, and the residents had identified vacant empty lots, congestion, shabby entries, road closures, lack of community centers, lack of jobs are some of the pain points. Gains which they felt if we were to go ahead and improve this area, what would we be preserving? Again and again in all the 3 workshops and on our online polls, people were talking about that this is the last authentic community in Miami-Dade County that needs to be preserved, which also means that we have to start looking at public-private partnerships that can happen, and it's not just going to be a one private sector-led initiative. We'd have to look at partnerships as well. More police presence and code enforcement was something that was mentioned. Based on all the input that we got, we came up with a concept plan, which was again shared in the 3rd workshop with the residents. The mobility hub is essentially defined as a community gathering space where you're going to be looking at an intensive concentration of work, live, shop, and play experiences that are comfortably accessible by foot and cycling. I missed the cycling in that, but that is very important. Based on that, we came up with these 9 guiding principles. One is the first and last mile connectivity. Very important again, like I mentioned, we gotta reach the station and come back from the station and the downtown, not just the station. The multimodal integration, the buses are going to play a big part in this, the cyclists are going to be using that as well. Creative placemaking and open space. As we saw that we do not have enough investment in the public open spaces and the community expressed a desire to do that, that is the 3rd principle. The 4th is economic catalyst, which Kevin has already touched upon. The 5th is having a transit supportive area. 6th is parking management. 7th is age-friendly neighborhoods, and we have the mayor today who would appreciate that, which is we're talking about age-friendly, which is children and senior citizens as well. The innovation and technology integration, again, we are all addicted to our phones, and we do a lot of the things on our phones, and that needs to get integrated into the day-to-day life. Finally, the resilient aspect of North Miami. This particular project gives us the platform to start looking at this seriously. This concept plan, which has been included in the package that was given to you, looks at physically how these principles can be represented. I'm just going to go quickly through it. What was important is all the work that North Miami has done to date. It's been a lot of work that has been done in North Miami, but a lot of it has been focused on the main corridor of 125th Street. What we felt we need to start looking at is also the entire grid in the downtown, which looks at all the parallel streets and the northwest, north-south, and east-west connections. So we've come up with a hierarchy of improvements that can be done. Some of these are very, very simple solutions, which are going to make people take alternate routes while they're cycling and walking because they don't feel comfortable on the 125th Street corridor. For example, this is on Northeast 12th Avenue. This is how it looks today, and then with minimal changes on having a segregated cycle track coming in, as well as organizing the swales a little bit more, we're going to be looking at changing this. This is on, again, 12th Avenue. When we look at that, there's what we see is, again, a change in the character, which is going to be looking at giving some segregated cycle tracks as well. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, through you to the presenter. I got all sorts of questions. I was trying to hold them till the end, and I got to jump in. Who's paying for all this?
Who's paying for all these improvements?
Right.
It is going to be a combination of the CRA funds. We're also going to be looking at, we have in our report looked at partnering with some foundations that are going to be able to start helping fund some of these improvements, because we're not talking about really high capital intensive projects in this particular phase.
I've sat in the seat a long time. What you just showed me doesn't come cheap.
Yes, and that would be, again, something that we would have to work as a partnership with the public-private partnerships that we mentioned. When you're able to redevelop some of these key properties that we're going to be showing you, that is going to offset some of these physical improvements as well. The intent is to bring in more private sector investment into the community, which we haven't seen in the recent past, and we've started seeing some movement happen, so that is going to offset some of this as well.
Who are some of the foundations that you have in mind that we'd partner with?
Some of the foundations that have recently, like we had been recently when we worked with the West Palm Beach government as well, the Kresge Foundation, there's the 880 Foundation. There are a lot of these foundations that are working on doing these creative, small, tactical urbanism placemaking projects. And we had that also, the Miami-Dade County had also started a program which we were going for as a demonstration project.
Hold on, and I'll add, Cressy's already funded a project in the city. They did the, we were the first with the partnership with ULI to do the resiliency study. for
The Arch
city
Creek.
north. So they've already started to invest in the city as well. So.
And I assume that thank you. I assume that the purpose of tonight's presentation is informative. Are you looking for us to give a buy-in, to move it forward, to shop it to other Okay. Well, I'll wait to the end of the presentation. I've got one major question. I'll hold till the end.
Sure, sir. Just going through some of these which are already funded. This is through the FDOT project that's going on 125th Street, where we're looking at some of the improvements that can be brought in, this is going to be the private sector part when the public investment has been done through the DOT grant that we already have in place. Some of the other things that we are talking about is the creative placemaking.
Can we go back a slide?
Sure.
Where's McDonald's? Is McDonald's there? I know where McDonald's is now, but where's the McDonald's in the?
It could be a part of this particular development as well. We could have a McDonald's instead of that particular location.
I mean, that sounds beautiful, but doesn't McDonald's probably either own or lease that land? I mean, this sounds great, but let's say McDonald's says, no, because they just renovated that restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
No, we like it the way it is. Boom, that's gone.
Well, that's a part of the negotiation. If McDonald's won't come here, or McDonald's would be a part of that development.
And keep in mind, all right, these kind of, they're conceptual renderings, and they're following the city's already designated NRO code and expectations of the comprehensive plan redevelopment of downtown. So, imagine, again, forget the names of the businesses, if you will, or assume we keep every single business that's there, but the expectation that there would be some redevelopment of their properties to be more dense, to include mixed use. So you'd have residential, office, and the retail on the first floor.
Here's where I'm coming from. I've been in this city my entire life. Dixie and 6th looks exactly the same as when I was a little boy. Exactly. And I can't tell you how many times I've sat through charrettes and other things about roundabouts and other beautification things, and none of it happened. So pardon my pessimism, but unless I'm seeing those dollars, I almost think that I guess it's nice to have a plan. Maybe this will be the plan that we use. Maybe the dollars don't come for 5 years, and we're going to go to another plan in 5 years and come up with something else. But here's my big question. Train station's probably going to 151 in the railroad tracks, not to 123. The county wants it there. FIU wants it there.
I want it there. You want it in 151?
I don't have a problem if it goes to one or the other. They're both in the city. But the odds are out there that this station is not going to 123rd. It's going to 151st. So how does this plan then change? Or do we just go, oh, well, that was for 123rd, and we just tear it up and throw it out the window? And
well, I know what you're saying, because I've been subject to some of these same conversations as well in recent weeks, if you will. We started down this path based on feedback that had been given in direction some time ago, and we're presenting what was there. This plan, however, does provide a very, I guess, hard piece of evidence that could be submitted as, here's the reason why it should be at 123rd as opposed to 151 or 151. But again, this is the direction that we started down this road. So that's why you're.
Can I ask a question, Councilman Galvin?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a plan to say why it shouldn't be at 151st? You say this plan would support the 125th Street? Is there one?
The direction of this board was to pursue this.
On 125th?
On 125th.
Oh, okay. I was not a.
So
okay.
that's why you have this in front of you right now.
Okay, I'm saying it publicly. I do not with that.
No, I
plan.
heard what you said, but my point was that was the direction that we had
Yeah,
previously
but
got.
do understand, Councilman Desulme, but understand when we vote something at a majority become the city direction. The direction from the dais is 125th.
No, I don't have a problem with the direction of the board. I'm saying I personally. That's what I think I said
Yeah,
that.
but
I'm
the
not saying the board.
direction of the
No,
administration
that's
is to
fine.
move forward with that.
This is why they come up with this. I don't have any problem with that. Thank
But I
you.
think we should also recognize the reality, the likely reality that it's going to 151st. And if we don't have a plan B, we're going to be President Trump trying to find a chief of staff after the first one walked away and left him standing there. So we should have a plan B, because that plan B is probably going to be for the county and everybody else, plan A.
And we will.
Can I say something? We are a city. Every city decided where they want the train station to be. I don't know why, as a city, we're gonna spend money to do the improvements, and we're gonna let the county tell us where we have to spend the money, where the train station is going to be. It's either the residents want it on 123rd, or we're not gonna spend any money and have the county have their own train station. I don't see why county, when everybody said I want it there, and they got it there. Us, we always have to fight among ourselves.
Where do we get the information that the county is going to decide? This is not a county project. This is not a Miami-Dade County project. The county does not get to decide where stations go.
So that's who begs the question: who makes the decision on where this station goes?
It's us here.
No. We don't have that authority.
Well, we get to recommend.
We get to
because
strongly recommend. Who makes the decision, Mr. Manager?
Well, there are different players involved.
But
in
we
this
already
project.
passed
You have-
that
So
here.
who
you
gets
have-
to make
you
the
have
decision?
FEC, you have the FEC, you have the tri-rail people, and different. I mean, these are the people who are going to be making the decisions. Plus, you have the SFRTA, the South Florida, Transit, Regional Transit, Authority. County has diddly to do with this project. Yeah, they may try to influence it politically. So, I'm part of the TPO board. I mean, you guys don't seem to remember that. I mean, I was in a TPO meeting last week, and I do talk to my colleagues at the TPO level. I haven't heard any rumors or any talk that the county is trying to influence this train station. I presented this project 2 years ago at the gentleman, actually Kevin was part of this a summit of 8 mayors from the Eastern Seaboard, all the way from Schenectady to Baltimore and so forth. All the discussions when I presented this project. And of course, we had a joint presentation and so forth. We had professors from FAU, we had engineers, urban developers, and so forth. I mean, it's a no-brainer that this is where the station should be. And these people who are going to be making that decisions, they are not politicians. These are people who worry about ridership, they worry about money. And if we think this is a movement, not just a Miami-Dade County movement. This is a worldwide movement. Rails is a worldwide movement. Rails, mobility hubs, a bicycle, walkability, work and play areas, and self-sustained with resilient cities. This is not a Miami-Dade County thing. We had the TPO board traveled. We traveled to Denver. We traveled to LA. Some of the board members actually went to. What was that country? Norway. I mean, we had a group who came from I don't remember which other Scandinavian country. They came and present those mobility hubs, those mobility programs. It's not a North Miami project, and we should not look at as so. And if we think we're going to sit here and have a myopic vision. And Kevin said it very eloquently. This is not something that we can just sit idle and go on our usually way of thinking. This is a movement that is passing us by. And guess what? If we let it go, we're going to fall behind 20, 30 years. This is what it is. If we let it go, we fall behind 20, 30 years. 151st Street has no market. I shouldn't say market value.
Solomia.
Huh?
Solomia.
Yeah, but
It's also in the city.
The ingress, and they don't have the ingress and egress.
Yeah, but understand, Councilman Galvin, we cannot just put the, we cannot just open it with just to please Solemia. We have many residents in the city.
I recognize
because
we have no role.
Because FIU wanted the Solemia wanted. We cannot just decide they bypassed the city, they went to the county and at the state level.
So far,
they
I
say
know
they want to change it.
it's
and we
only
just
one
please
county commissioner so far. This is going to be a big fight because only one county commissioner is really pushing for this 151st Street station.
It's a fight. We're going to say either we ally with FIU and whatever they want, while we're saying we don't want FIU, and then at another level we are negotiating with them and put the station there, or we please the residents.
I believe I've not been clear in what I'm saying. This is presenting one plan, Plan A. If Plan A, we all have to acknowledge that we are not the sole deciders of where the North Miami station goes. By the way, 151st Street is also in North Miami. So
a part is in North Miami, not the old 151.
Regardless, I know where there are already discussions being held as to where the station would be. I wouldn't be surprised if business developers in that area, whose names I'll just leave out of it, have already approached and offered funding toward that 151st location. Point being, I'm not here to argue 123rd through 151st. You've not heard me say anything up until this point. I fear that we're just being myopic and having one plan when I know from with my ear to the ground the other plan is more likely to happen. Maybe we win, this is perfect, we don't have to do anything, but if it switches up on us next week and they announce it at 151st, did we just waste time and money on this report? Or is there a way that it can be altered? That was my question.
May I ask a question?
If I could offer some advice. I'm representing a number of other communities that are in the same situation. They're competing for rail stops, both on the Coastal Link, the new Tri-Rail. The fact of the matter, and I'm going to echo Mayor Joseph, the fact of the matter is the final decider on this are the rail companies. They're looking for ridership. Where can they maximize ridership? Where do they get the highest number of riders, especially within a quarter mile of a station location? Because they have to make money on this, not lose money. The other is they're looking for real estate development opportunities. Don't forget that Flagler is one of the major property owners in the entire state. They're actually a real estate development company. The rail has been a sideline for a number of years. They make their money in real estate. The city and cities, others like you, including Dania Beach, which is in a similar situation right now, absolutely have the ability to drive this matter. You can actually decide your own fate. It won't be the county. The county's going to be recommending, the TPO is going to be recommending. In the end, it's going to be a business decision by the train operators. And that's where the city can really make its case in terms of what it prefers as a location and why 125th works better for the city's purposes and as a business decision. So you can absolutely take the reins and start driving your own future on this. It's in the city's hands.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, developers, for all clapping.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
But what happens? What happens if 151 is chosen? That's the thing.
Yeah, so
I get it. Rah rah, sis boom bah. Go.
I would just
1, 2,
like to
3.
add to what Kevin said, that the majority of the city's population is in the downtown. This plan is connecting the downtown to 151st, 125th, 123rd, whatever we say. You would have to still get
The
that's why it's
majority
called
of the
first
city's
and last mile
population is
connectivity.
on 123rd Street or in downtown.
We're talking about this larger area of a 1 mile radius from that station. So when you look at that, we're looking at this outer circle, which is that 1 mile radius. We're talking about almost in the half-mile radius, around 9,000 residents in this particular area.
I'm going to be devil's advocate for another 10 minutes.
Sure.
I'm going to shut up because we all have to eat dinner before the real meeting starts at 7 o'clock that takes us out. How much would that grid change if you moved it 1 mile to the north?
You would still have to connect people from where they are. You would have to connect your businesses, which is our downtown. So what we're trying to say is that the 151st, 125th, we're saying it's a part of the connectivity for your downtown. The downtown's not going to change either. Your downtown is where it is. If 151st comes to north, we're not changing the boundaries of the downtown either.
No,
We're
I know.
talking about connecting the downtown through this plan to the stations, wherever the transit station comes in. And that's not just 125th. That's why we talked about the first principle being the first and last mile connectivity, which is all the 131st, the 135th, the north-south connectors, we need the investment there.
Here's my last comment.
Yes, sir.
I will vote yes tonight. Mr. Spring, this gentleman will not be here if the station is chosen to go elsewhere. He won't have to deal with the decision-making that we would then be saddled with if this plan becomes immediately obsolete by powers out of our control. I will look to you if that station goes elsewhere to immediately have a plan as to what we'll do that equals the beauty of this here that doesn't have any dollars supporting it.
Okay, Mr.
I got it.
May I speak?
He got it.
Okay.
Great, Vice Mayor.
So,
We're just,
excuse me,
sorry,
let me just, okay, so this plan,
When we get to public hearing, then you can speak.
we talked about doing this plan when we worked on the comprehensive plan in 2015, and we sort of held up to get the center, the epicenter of where we were going to put this. We need this plan for our development. We've got buildings, we're trying to build our downtown, we're trying to do urban infill, we're trying to build up our downtown. We need the transportation hub right there because we have people coming back and forth from Biscayne, the beaches, to 95. This is what makes sense. This is where we need this train station. So I'm willing to fight for that. That being said, and we have developers here within a quarter mile and just out of a quarter mile. We have a lot of projects, a lot of multifamily projects coming and businesses. This makes sense. If we have this there, it will be a bigger incentive to draw the station to this. If we don't get the station, we still are now having a mobility overlay with incentives to help the development in our city. So if we don't get the train station, we still have done stuff. We have lands and gaps and pockets in our city in that area that are, you can't do anything with them. We need to rezone. The TOD is a rezone, which will take care of that. So I don't think I do have another question about the plan that we're getting ready to approve.
We're not done.
But
You're not done yet. With
no,
this.
but what I'm saying is, whether we get a station or not, this will help us, and if we don't, this is still going to help the development and our city to move forward just by having this plan and the transportation. We need bike lanes, we need walkability, we need mobility, we need to get people around. We're talking about lead, we're giving people bonuses because they're near a train station, because they're near a bus station. We need to be able to move our people, and I think this plan is beginning for doing that.
And another thing that I was going to say, and mad that Councilman Desulme is not here. He's talking about investing $1 million in a Chinatown from 119 to 135th. I think putting a train station in the middle of the downtown, that's going to help the Chinatown.
Exactly.
Yes,
I don't
definitely.
know what,
You're right.
when he's
Definitely.
talking about investing million in the to create that Chinatown. I think those people are going to need transportation and
Right.
those big investment. I think it makes sense that instead of going 151, which is commercial, which is halfway of North Miami, I think on 151 we own maybe
Guys in the
less
audience,
than
please, I can
50%
hear
of-
you, and I said, I'm sorry, Councilman, I said I would shut up, but if you guys keep throwing comments from the peanut gallery, I'm going to come at you, and then I'll vote no, and then I'll turn against you. Please, don't say there's nothing there on 151st Street. Whether we like it or not, Sola Mia, our own giant project, is under construction and is a bit further along than Chinatown. So I'm ready to vote in favor, but gentlemen, please.
I
but
think,
Councilman
sorry.
Galvin, the city is not just Solemia. We cannot please Solemia. Everything is Solemia. Everything is Solemia. We have a city of over 60,000 plus people. Not just please Solemia and suddenly we move the station there because they're going to invest in the area. We got to see the whole city We got to see Chinatown. We got to see the
Raw,
downtown.
raw, 1, 2, 3. Raw, raw, 1, 2, 3. I'm voting yes on this. Let's do it.
Okay,
I just
let's
am
do it.
upset that we don't have a plan B.
Can we do public
That's what
hearing
I'm
now?
saying.
and
The
then-
plan
and then-
B,
and then
if
go
we're
to
going to
a vote?
open two stations, maybe a big one there and another
How much
sub
more do
one
you have?
over there, we're not having any problem.
I can just go to one quick thing, please.
Yeah,
I would like
please.
to just do that. The other thing that is very important is also to look at a transit overlay district for this particular area. It's not a half mile or a quarter mile circle we're talking about. What we have is the NRO overlay and the PCD, which leaves the quarter mile station area, what you see as a donut in the middle out. What we're recommending is within this, we create a TOD overlay zone, which has higher densities and higher heights that are recommended, but in a very, very concentrated area, because at the same time, we believe that the neighborhoods around it need to be preserved. So this area is pretty much taking into account all the industrial areas around it, going all the way to 10th, which is the edge of the NRO district, and just one block of 125th. So the other thing which is there is within this half-mile area, we have a lot of we have lands which is in the unincorporated county, which we recommend that we start thinking about annexation of those as part of our strategy as well. We're talking about 125 dwelling units per acre and a 200 feet maximum height limit in this particular area. Keeping in mind that the properties that are going to be closer to the existing residential neighborhoods will have transition guidelines in place and would have to be tapered down as well. That said, there are 3 densification. We're not saying the whole area is going to be developed. We're talking about at a larger scale, we have 3 nodes, which is the TOD Station Square, as we call it, which is 125th, 123rd, and FEC. The 5 points and the library node. These are some renderings. Just again, this is not how it's going to happen. This is just telling us how the development capacity could be increased of this area to make it more amicable for investors as well as for the residents. We don't want it to go into the residential area, keep the character of the residential areas as pristine as we can through this. These are some of the mixed use and residential. Right now within the quarter mile, we only have industrial uses, so nothing can be built over there. So if I am the SFRTA or the rail developer and I'm looking at the current zoning codes, this particular location is not giving me the same economics as 151st or anything else because we haven't zoned it for higher densities. This is the next step that we're recommending that we take, at least in the quarter mile area, which we would want the planning and the CP&D department to start looking at it. The other thing is the Mocha Plaza, which is outside of the half mile area. It's in the 1 mile area, but again, a node which needs to be developed with the destinations that there are right now. Again, not going beyond 125th in this. Looking at the library arts district area, a lot of the surface parking lots are underutilized. We're not saying that the residential neighborhoods or the streets need to be changed through this. There are strategic optimized densification nodes available in North Miami, which is not the case in all the stations everywhere. This is going to integrate the community with the TOD lifestyle that we're talking about. It's a lifestyle change. We're talking about the development going up to 8 stories in some of these areas, nothing more than that. We're talking about the 5 points intersection where the McDonald's was. Yes, we've been looking at it for a while, but that's today. Hopefully it will change in the near future when we're able to take these decisions and express to the world outside that North Miami has arrived and is ready to change. Parking is another issue.
You were that intersection is actually on the it's in design to be redone.
Yes,
Can you go back one slide, please?
Sure.
That's 125th and 6th in
Yes.
Dixie. Okay, I just want to look at that for a moment.
The 5 points, that the intersection that was being. Again, this is just looking at what the development could be if we are to open up. It's already there. We're not talking about any changes. The NRO requires these kind of regulations. Can I go ahead,
What's the
Councilman?
height there?
We're talking about around 9 stories to 12 stories. Parking, as we observed during our study, is a big issue in the entire community as such, the half-mile radius. What we looked at was there was somewhat like around 689 or 700 parking spaces along the swales in the residential streets. All we're saying is we need to start regulating that as well. This all needs to happen for a better downtown, for a better area. TOD aside, it's very important that we start regulating our parking if we are to have parking garages or structures as part of our proposed development. On-street parking needs to be regulated as well. We've included some strategies on where on-street parking should be available, as well as what the off-street parking opportunities could be. Age-friendly neighborhoods, children, senior citizens, millennials, that's the community we're wanting to create. It's not just about a particular demographic. The other thing is technology integration. One of the things that we kept on hearing again and again from the community was that we need to know more about what's happening in the community. So a smart citizen dashboard is something which can start off immediately as a pilot project, where we have continuing resident engagement, which the CRA has already started taking up. There is a common mobility app, which the Miami-Dade County has already launched. We just need to start putting that on the NOMI facilities as well. Investing in high-speed broadband and Wi-Fi downtown, which is already there, but even more towards the half-mile area, and then streamlining the development process. That said, we've already talked about a lot of this, so just like to end with thanking you all and requesting you to please approve this plan, because we can move ahead.
Thank you very much. Now it's the time for us to give the public the reasonable opportunity.
Can I ask a quick question?
To the presenter?
Yes.
A quick question, Mr. Presenter, before we open it to public.
And about how many units you think this project can bring in the area?
The half-mile area?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about somewhere around 3,000 units is what we're looking at, keeping in mind that there is a cap which is already there of 5,000 residential units from the comprehensive plan.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be 3,000 additional units that we have recommended fitting in these strategic nodes, the 3 nodes that I showed to you.
Okay. In the presentation, the previous presenter talked about the need for affordable housing from his study. Can he give us some more details on what you found?
We're recommending as high a percentage as you're comfortable going. 20 to 25% of units is sort of a baseline in South Florida. If you choose to push it higher, that would be a good thing for North Miami. It would be more in line with incomes.
But from the study, you said there's a need for more affordable.
There's an absolute need for affordable housing. Right now, North Miami has a fairly good supply of reasonably affordable, but it's quickly becoming unaffordable single-family housing. The demand, though, across the county and in this part of the county, North Central, is for multifamily. And the demand now is it's interesting. The demand is both younger renters, millennials, people just starting out in the workforce, and then people who are downsizing, 55 plus. And they're both looking for the same thing. They don't want to own anymore. They don't want to drive anymore. They want amenities, shopping, entertainment. They want everything within walking distance, and they want to live in multifamily units. And this is an ideal location for that. There's some of it going on in North Central, Miami-Dade, but this is where your need is right now. So, and especially workforce priced. Anywhere from 100 to 180% of the median income, affordable for those types of families. That's where your real sweet spot is on this project.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll open the item for public hearing. You have 2 minutes to voice your concern or whatever.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council Manager and the CRA Director. Jim Garrett, 11610 North Bayshore Drive. I'm in support of the TOD district. I'm in support of the train station at Northeast 123rd Street and 14th Avenue. I have lived in communities in Oak Park, Illinois, Wilmington, Delaware, and Falls Church, Virginia, which is a part of Northern Virginia. And all 3 communities had mass transit different modes, commuter rail and intercity with CTA in Chicago and Metro in Chicago and Oak Park. And Wilmington, we have SEPTA and Amtrak. And in Fall Church, we have Metro and Amtrak. And Northern Virginia Railway, Northern Virginia and VR. I believe that this will change all downtown district. It will be the critical link, Mr. Mayor. You know that, and I know that. We've both been at the TPO meetings together. Thank you for your support. If we're going to go for 151st Street, that would be our second station. Or the mayor of NNB recently, he did a compromise. He offered to compromise and take his 163rd Street and move it down to 156, where the old rail yards used to be at the gas tank. Maybe that's a compromise for Solely, and we do shuttles from Solely. That's a compromise. Tony DeFilippo, the new mayor, did that at a meeting. But we need a rail station in this community. It links up the downtown. It links up the Chinatown. And as a future property owner of a property at 645 Northwest 132nd Street one day, when my mom passed away, that will help my economic security. So I think it's critical for this council to push for a station at 123rd Street. Thank you.
Hi, Sarah McDevitt. Sarah McDevitt, 14490 Northeast 10th Avenue. Yeah, I just came to talk. I know I've talked to many of you already about the station site at 125th. I feel really excited about the prospect of this. I also come from communities that have had modes of public transportation that were more similar to light rail, and you just see what that brings to a community when you move from a community that's completely reliant on cars to having public transportation like bus. So much prosperity is brought to a community, and to me, seeing the obvious synergy that we already have with downtown, linking out to the beaches, linking straight to 95, at this station site. What's more, being a few blocks off Biscayne allows for development close to the station versus a 151st site that really, the developable areas within a quarter mile of the station site are very limited. For me, I hope everybody not only votes for this, but goes out and campaigns hard to make everybody aware that our city's fully backing this site, and we're really excited about the prospects of it, and that we start to do the things that the planners have talked about to make it a really appealing and exciting site for the county to embrace.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jason James, 1560 Northwest 129th Street, and I'm here on behalf of DAPAC, the Downtown Action Plan Advisory Committee for the city. And the topic of mobility has come up in our meetings a couple times. And in our last meeting, we were fortunate enough to get a nice presentation similar to what you've seen here today. And all the concepts, or many of the concepts that we saw in the mobility hub study, were actually lined up with many of the concepts that were stated in the 2014 downtown master plan that was previously approved. We feel as though they line up perfectly with many of the current projects that we are working on or kind of watching, whether it be the 125th Street improvements, the Liberty Gardens Park that's coming up later on this evening, or the alleyway improvements that we're considering doing and we're working on the north side of 125th Street behind those facilities. So we really think it's a critical thing. We want to see it happen. We think it's best that we're in this position now ahead of, I think, many cities, because we've kind of already done some of this legwork. And so I think by giving these corporations all the information they need to make better decisions will only help us, get what we want. Because like many of the council or the board members said, we should drive where we want to see it happen, what makes the most sense for us as a city. So hopefully you will all support the plan moving forward. Thank you very much.
My name is Sid Weinstein. I'm the owner of the property on the corner of 125th and 14th Court. That's right where the food spot is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at ground zero. I moved into North Miami in year 2000. I left here in 2015 after my wife died. I moved a little closer to where my project is going to be, which is going to be in Homestead. The train rail, which was approved by Dade County from Kendall down to Homestead, was part of my projection for my project. My project is EmeraldCityUSA.com. It's the biggest project in the world. I'm putting 50,000 people to work in that project. I own it. I am the principal. What I consider my headquarters at North Miami, because I've been there for over 10 years in that office, right on the corner where the food spot is. That's Richard McGee's property. I just cleaned it up for the last year or so, got rid of all the garbage that was there to basically take down that building and put up a whole, whatever height we're supposed to be discussing tonight, I guess. I still don't know the height we could build, but I'm buying that property. We could put up a 5-story, 10-story, 15, 20, it doesn't matter. The fact is that the train stop, it doesn't matter if it's 151st or 96th or wherever it is. It doesn't matter. They need commuters. You build it. This is the field of dreams. North Miami is the field of dreams. You build it. It's the demand and supply. Supply and demand. You build those apartments there. Who's going to use the train? All the people that are in the immediate area are going to use that train to go either north, south. In fact, what I could see, what I vision there at North Miami is a double plaza above the trains, to put the parking above the trains and have the bridge go over the trains. They don't have to stop at that train.
Yeah.
They can have a double plaza.
I'm sorry, I have to stop you because otherwise I have to do it for everybody else.
If you want to look at my web, it's EmeraldCityUSA.com. All right.
Mm. You may be hearing from the city soon.
And I want to publicly apologize to you, sir, because I want to publicly apologize to you because you were sitting next to our presenters. I wrongly assumed, well, the presenters that were here that are sitting to your immediate right, I assumed you were all part of the same group, so I apologize. Sure, I'm just letting you know. I apologize.
McDermott.
Mike McDermott, 840 Northeast 127th Street. For the sake of time and because of the fact so many good points have already been said, I'd just like to say that this project and the endorsement of this project is logical. And hopefully tonight logic prevails because it is the absolute logical way to try to enhance North Miami in all the areas. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's Jean Marcellus, 1337 Northeast 125th Street. Well, yeah, I'm in support of this project and for 125th Street. And I think the only thing that we might need, instead, we do need a plan B also, but is making attractive enough for more developers to come and engage in a very positive discussions with the well people to convince them we have enough riders for the well. As soon as we can do that, and of course, we will have this train station right here in 125, Councilman Galvin. That will be a big plus for our city. Thank you, Council. Do that for us.
Good evening. My name is Ismarie Monreal. My address is 8814 Northwest 177th Terrace in Miami. I am here. I'm the Dean of Students at Johnson & Wales University. And on behalf of our students, staff, and faculty, we would like to ask for your support of this hub on 123rd, 125th. Certainly, I don't need to go into the advantages of why this hub makes sense for the city. I think the presenters were very articulate in saying that. I'm just here on behalf of our, again, student, staff, and faculty. You will all be receiving a letter from our Student Government Association, so will be the commissioners of Miami-Dade, and certainly thanks to the presenters, we will figure out who in the trial rail will also need to get a letter. So thank you again, and certainly hope that you can support this project.
Thank you very much. Public hearing is still open, but I see none, hear none. Public hearing is closed.
Move approval. Oh, sorry.
I have a question, big question, of what exactly we are voting on this evening, because I'm in favor of getting a mobility hub and strategic plan. There's a lot of stuff in here that I haven't read and I'm zipping through on the screen, and you're asking us to approve a lot of stuff that is really up to our planners.
So,
You're drawing maps, you're drawing, you mentioned 8-foot buildings, but here you're talking about a downtown overlay of 200 feet, 10-foot setbacks. You've got a lot of zoning stuff
okay,
in here.
so let me clarify.
Thank
What
you.
you're approving is the acceptance of the report, of the plan itself. All of those issues that you discussed have to be brought back individually to the city through the appropriate processes for planning and zoning.
So we're not approving exactly what this says, but it's an overall concept of a TOD plan.
This is approving the accepting the plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Galvin to approve agenda item 2. That motion was seconded by Councilman Bieneme. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passed with a 5-0 vote. Agenda item 3. A resolution of the chairman and board members of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency approving and adopting the updated commercial grant guidelines and providing an effective date.
Good evening, Rasha Camo, CRA Director. As you recall, we've had several discussions in the past about updating our grant guidelines because we have been receiving several grants that are either higher than the current grant guidelines or more than what we can do and more with different uses. In front of you, I've presented some changes to the grant guidelines, and in the memo, I'm going to walk you through the substantive changes that we're proposing in the guidelines. On page 3, under automatic disqualification, we usually do not accept grants from churches or religious organizations, but best practices have proven in other CRAs that you can provide a grant to a church as long as it meets a different use, a cultural use. Like, for instance, the Overtown CRA did a cultural venue out of a historic church. So we've amended the current guidelines to allow for a religious organization to apply unless the funding. Yes, sir.
That church is not operating as a church anymore, though.
No.
Correct.
Okay.
But they are the owner. But they are the
Right.
owner.
Yeah, what
Okay,
what about increasing our taxes?
I'm sorry?
What about increasing one of the purposes of the CRA is to increase our taxes?
So the reason why this issue came up, we've had funding requests from religious institutions that run other types of businesses. So a school associated with a church, incubators and things of that nature. So we're making this language change to say there is no prohibition because it's the Greek church school, if you will.
But they're still not paying taxes, and we're not improving the tax value on the
Well,
land.
they would have to pay. They would have to pay taxes
It's a
for.
not-for-profit?
No. Certain institutions, religious institutions, if they're running for-profit entities, there is a tax implication.
But not a real.
But they
property
cannot be
tax.
under the name of the church.
Well, or yes, it's a southern.
need
It's
another
another
corporation
Now
to-
they don't pay institutions, including universities and the like, don't pay property tax.
Like
I think
Johnson
that's
and
the
Wales.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean.
So just, if you don't mind.
Instead of doing it like that, why don't you just keep it to, we will get it on a case-by-case basis? Why we have to change the whole thing and to allow that?
But just clear, it was added just to clarify the point, because we've had the applications.
We have applications?
We've had in the past.
It will be on a case-by-case basis because every grant application comes before the board for approval by this board. The issue was researched legally. There is case law out there to the effect, basically, and that's why this language is here in the staff report, that under these cases, that as long as there is no that the funding does not have as its primary effect either advancing or inhibiting religion, or there's significant entanglement by the government with the religious organization, that it is legally permissible to provide funding for improvements to these structures. Yes, we know that they don't pay taxes. We know that in every case it may not be what you all want to do, and you have that discretion when a grant application comes before you, such as any of them, to say yes or no, or to reduce the amount of the requested funding. So it is within your discretion. The reason that it was at issue was because the grant guidelines previously said they could not even apply.
Oh, okay, that's not good.
Okay?
Doing that's not good. The CRA is to eliminate
That
blights
they were-
and bring redevelopment and bring money to the city. That's the guideline. That's what it is. By funding non-profit, what do we get out of that?
Well, experiences have shown in other CRAs throughout the state that partnering with possibly a religious organization that owns the property to allow for incubators, small business opportunities, and things like that.
Unless it part under another denomination, another name, a corporation, and want to do business inside that property.
So currently our guidelines say if the church owns the property and operates it, you cannot apply, period, you're disqualified.
But-
So we're removing that part, whereas the church can be the landlord
Okay.
and have that program and apply.
And they have the BTR and
Yes,
everything.
yes,
and
they
the
would have all
legal,
of it, but right
okay,
now,
okay.
a church, we
Okay.
receive several grant
I understand
requests from
now.
churches for schools and other, like I said, an incubator and other services that they would like to offer the community. However, because they are a religious organization, and this guideline was in there since, you know, before I got, you know, I
The
got
other
here, so it was like
organization
2004.
cannot be 501c3.
No.
Right?
That's not an automatic disqualification. And the effect is, and I do understand they do not pay real estate taxes, but it could help alleviate slum and blight by helping with the structure itself. In other words, if this,
And to help
or-
with the property value.
Well, and you hit it on the head. Slum and blight. It has a very broad definition. It's not just about the economic development. It is, they could be providing particular service that enhances the quality of life and helps the
Not only that, if you give somewhat of a funding to help assist, let's just say a vacant property or a vacant church that is a business that is operating inside that church, that actually helped the other properties around the area to put up their property value. So there is an economic
That, but the applicants
aspect to
cannot
it.
be the church.
I don't think they saying
No,
an
but
I want to
applicant
signal.
applying.
I want to signal you that we have 10 minutes before regular council meeting.
Continue this?
So,
Yeah, we can, yeah.
so
Yes,
I
we
don't
can.
know if
We
it's-
absolutely can.
Why don't we do that so we can get to the
All
applicants?
of them, it's 10 minutes, you need to take a break.
We can
Okay.
continue.
So we need a motion to continue.
To continue this till the next.
Okay,
All of
I'll
them.
second it.
All of them.
The rest of the meeting so
Yes.
that we can.
Yes.
That's
What
right.
about the applicants?
Yes.
No, we.
Well, that's the same
Okay.
thing.
The
If we're
rest.
doing one issue, let's do all of them because
Yeah, but, okay,
well,
this
is
issue
it
is
just
our
for this item
internal.
or all
These,
the items?
these other ones are applicants who are looking for funding to
then they
get
should
moving, and we're not
continue.
gonna see them now till January 8th. I don't think that's fair. If we've got applicants here,
We have meeting in January, no?
meeting in January.
We-
You've got
we-
the
we have
request
meeting in
amended.
so they've
January.
gotta wait another month before they even know if they're gonna get funding.
It's
Yes,
early
I
days.
have,
That's fine.
Councilwoman, I have not even been briefed on part of these, so I would really ask if we can move them, because that was gonna be part of my,
Yeah,
because
she
I have
made
not
the,
heard of
she
it.
made the motion and I second it.
Okay.
Mr.
All right,
Clerk?
so Mayor, so let me,
I'd have
I
made a
mean,
motion to move this item.
Boardman, so
Mm-hmm.
this is the question. Are you guys moving
can
every
second
single
it,
item
you
that's
just send the
left, or you're
amendment.
just moving item 3? You just wanna, do you wanna continue item 3 or every
The
single
rest
No,
of
item?
the,
let me- let me
the
make
rest
a-
of the agenda.
So, Mr. Mayor,
I
I'll make a
second
friendly
that.
amendment then to,
I withdraw
No,
my
withdraw
motion.
yours.
You
let
withdraw
the
yours?
mayor-
Okay, she withdraw the
let the
motion.
mayor move his.
No, she withdraw the motion.
Then
I only second it.
then I'll make a motion that we table everything until after the holidays.
I second that.
Okay, I have a motion made by Board Member Desiree to table agenda item 3, agenda item 4, agenda item 5,
7 and 8.
agenda item 6, agenda item 7, agenda item 8, until the next CRA meeting. That motion was seconded by Board Member Bien-Aimé. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Item passed with a 4-1 vote.
Thank you very much. We'll see you in 10 minutes for our regularly scheduled CRA, not CRA, Council.